Hello and welcome to the AdTech Heroes podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about a digital focus on APAC, and I'm delighted to be joined by Bharat Khatri. Bharat is the Chief Digital Officer at APAC at Omnicom Media Group. Previously he worked at Xaxis, where he spent over 7 years in various roles from client engagement, development, and as a country head. Hi Bharat, how's it going?
Good, all well, man. I'm quite doing well. Enjoying the hybrid, sustainable work life. And big thanks to you for inviting me on the show.
No, really excited to be having a conversation with you today, and definitely all about the hybrid work-life balance, right? I think now in the UK, where I'm based, it's been snowing for the last couple of days,
Oh, wow.
and I know previously, going into work before COVID, it was always a pain getting in, and there's always trains running slow or just cancelled completely. So yeah, it's great to be able to now work from home, even if it's freezing cold outside and it's snowing.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Perfect. So, like I said, great to have you on our podcast today. It'd be great to begin with understanding a little bit about your career and what's got you to where we are here today.
Sure, man. So I think let me just start from the beginning. I was born and raised in Delhi, and like most of the middle class Delhiites, I also started my hustle little early during my graduation phase. So weekdays were mainly focused around the theory, international business, marketing, and finance, and weekends were all about me deploying it on the practical use case. So I started part time for event management companies, basically promoting what you would say like big CPG brands, tasting events, product sampling, sometimes sales driven goals and all. And at that time, it was all about acquiring the customer data of that local vicinity within Delhi, what we now call, I think, the first party. So on the flip side, I think while I was working there, I always had that passion to start something in digital. And way back in 2006, during my graduation, I already had what I would say like my own blogs, hyperlink web pages, and pretty much decent. I was getting like a $50 to $100 Google AdSense revenue being generated, mainly like the content from on old ad days. So I think I got graduated 2008, which is I'm sure the terrible year globally for anyone to get graduate. And while I graduated, I think there was a lot of uncertainty already happening globally in the economic front. So on my career path, also I had two options. Either I should pursue an MBA first because the job market was not ready at that time, or I should look out for any job openings which is available within my passionate zone. So I started with a usual, like I said, a Delhi Heights starting into a call center because that time call centers were on the rise. So I joined a British call center named Circo, based in Gurgaon. And the whole idea was to do outbound calls, sell American Express credit cards, Plaid credit cards, paid memberships, and all that piece. It lasted around about 9 months, gave me a good learning in terms of the online, or I would say the digital sales process, asking people to apply for a card online, helping them, hand holding them way back in 2008 was a big, I would say, learning phase for me. And I think after that 8 or 9 months stint, I joined Wipro. Again, I landed because I through my graduation, what you would say like a campus placement, and the whole idea was to do something around procure to pay. So my client in Wipro was AB InBev and the beer manufacturer, and the whole process was all about helping getting the process outsourced from Hungary, Budapest, Prague to India, mainly around deploying SAP across different master data, invoicing processes, and all. So it was more of bringing the automation into the workspace and at the same time understanding the international cultures, nuances, how business is being done. So yeah, so spent around about 2.5, 3 years in this domain. And while I was working there, the passion was still happening at the home, making more blogs, trying to understand how the space in the digital marketing is changing. And I think at the same time, Google released a new algorithm called Google Panda, which actually impacted how the bad content web pages were downstream. And I think this is where I thought now I should pursue something full time. And fortunately or unfortunately, I met an accident during my Wipro phase. So it was a massive car accident. Got my neck fractured. Was on bed rest
Wow.
for 3 4 months. And this is where I think again the thought process started coming into back, because I think during the graduation I was inspired by Ray Bradbury's quote: "Love what you do what you love." And I know it's difficult for everyone to follow both the quotes at the same time, but I think it was more about how can we start loving what I wanted to do in the life. And this is where I then joined Tribal Fusion, which got renamed to Exponential Interactive, and later got renamed into VDX, focused around video advertising. So it was on the same expressway where I met with the accident. And every day while I was on the notice period, I used to see the flashy board, did my own research about ad networks. So spent 3 years with them, understand everything about the ad network space, revenue management side, how the big agency deals and the advertiser deals are being done, the volume rebate aspects, the server side and all. So spent the 3 years, and I would say like Tribal Fusion was one of the milestone in my career, which actually gave me start towards the passion point, or it actually fueled my passion to focus more deeply into digital. And from there, I think the journey started. Sooner or later, I realized the agency ecosystem is setting up most of this stuff in house, and they will be also opening up their own, what you would say, like a trading desk or a programmatic desk. And this is where one of my colleagues helped me connect with a leader. His name is Atik. He's still my mentor, and so he was, I would say, the first one who helped me onboard and start my journey on the agency side. So I joined Zaxxon and Group M way back in 2011, and spent a good amount of 7 years of time with the organization. I joined them as a engagement manager. Over a period of 4 to 5 years, I was able to reach to the top of the ladder. So I was managing the entire entity as a country head. And I think within the 7 years, again, both Zaxxon and Group M in India gave me the freedom to actually build and transform the programmatic sides of the business towards more of like an audience driven and an outcome driven company. So this is again, I would say, one of a turning point in my career where I got the responsibility to build a product from scratch and then manage the entire P&L, business marketing, product innovation, and some of the products what we built in India were actually then exported to other markets, leveraging the same scale of data and technology. So overall, I think it was a roller coaster ride for me. During the pandemic, again, a fantastic opportunity came. So this time it was from Omnicom Media Group. The opportunity was definitely, I would say, again, a big milestone because it opened wider horizons for me to bring my learnings from the programmatic side and deploy it on a larger digital spectrum. And at the same time, the role is also not just about managing one market, it's managing the entire region. So definitely, the role was all about managing 15 markets across region, different cultures, different platforms, and an immense learning opportunity for me. So after enough of consideration, going through a couple of months, because it was the most difficult decision to leave my extended family, which I was passionate about, the hardworking team, which I built over the past few years. But I was super impressed, and I met another great human. His name is Paul Shepard. So he's our chief investment officer, and he's the CEO of Analect. So he's doing a double hat as a CIO for Omnicom Media Group. So I spent a lot of time with him, understanding what's the vision about this digital role, because most of organizations, when they set up a digital leadership role, it's mainly around governance. But I think with Omnicom, the vision was also to build products, handhold our regional clients in navigating the disruption which is happening in the digital space. Yeah, and this is how I landed in my current role. So overall, I would say 14, 15 years of my career span, life has been good to me. And I'm, again, one of the lucky few that managed to pursue my passion as a career.
No, amazing. It's great to see, and it's safe to say, right? There was a lot of ups and downs throughout like you said, from an accident, from starting off working in telemarketing and the sales side of things, and doing your side hustle in the background. You might not have thought of it as a side hustle, right? You probably thought of it as a passion point or a passion area. And do you feel that the combination of all those things, everything aligned to get you to where you are today? Or would you say there's one of those moments where you thought, you know what, this has been the game changer, really, what made me become what I am today?
No, I think overall, if I see, it's the combination of all the learnings which I was able to grasp during this journey. One side is early days, I was able to get closer to the consumer aspect, understanding how consumers think. So everything what I did over the last 14, 15 years was keeping the consumer in the center point, whether it's about building a product, whether it's about delivering value to our advertisers or supporting the publishers in terms of wider diverse media spends. I think I would say every journey what I went through over the last 14, 15 years has a big role in terms of making me who I am today as a leader. And also because I started from scratch, I didn't had any, I would say, like regular MBA degrees. I did my post-grad international business while working from Symbiosis as a distance course. So I didn't had any, what you say in India, the regular IIM's degree to become a leader or a CXO profile. So I feel privileged and honored that I was able to be part of these fantastic organizations. And I think the best thing working for these power groups like Omnicom Group M is that you get a lot of opportunity to change the industry fundamentally. And it's all about how you want to make advertising more welcome for consumers. And this is what I love every day as part of my job.
And you mentioned how you've had mentors throughout your career as well. How important have they been, and are you now also a mentor for people up and coming, that have entered the industry? Great to understand that kind of relationship and kind of giving back, right? Because I think we all get to a certain level within our industry where obviously we're always up for learning, we're always up for educating ourselves, but I think that comes a time where we should actually be giving more than we're taking in, and I think now is probably a great time for you to do that as well, right?
Definitely. I think mentorship is, I would say, not just about making someone understand whether they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. It's also about coaching them, not just at a work front, more about the life aspects. Because I think very early I realized as you grow up the ladder, you will start feeling lonely. There is not much room to play with the larger community once you grow up the ladder. So I think mentorship and coaching is very much important, whether it's about growing up the ladder or horizontally or vertically. On the second one, yes, I do contribute back to our industry. So I'm an active mentor for quite a fellows people, whether it's early graduate days, people who reach out to me during their internship projects, understanding more about the ongoing disruption, or even the experienced professionals within our fraternity who connects mainly to understand when they get stuck in certain phase, what is the next thing that they should do, again, to connect to their passion point. Are they on the right track and all? So yeah, so I think I'm actively helping a lot of graduates as well as experienced professionals in terms of handholding them and giving them the right mentorship to succeed in this industry.
Amazing. So yeah, like fast forward to now in your current role, what does a typical day look like for you? Is it full of Zoom calls? Are you traveling a lot? You're still based in Delhi, right?
Yeah, I'm still based in Delhi. So my typical day when I'm working from home in India, it starts little early. I start the day around 5:30, doing my regular caffeine loading, basic body stretching. I do presence practice meditation for 10 minutes, which I also learned from my life and leadership coach Vijay Bhatt last year. So that's probably the usual morning course, and then the typical day, the work starts around 7 a.m., which is the regular scheduled call with the partners, my team across the region, followed by some client thought leadership sessions, workshops, building some frameworks. Around about 11:30, when it's lunchtime in Southeast Asia, I step out for my workout session, and then I work back around, I think, start my work around 1 p.m., which generally goes till like 5 or 6, mainly again focusing on building our usual pitch decks, upskilling myself also on the ongoing digital disruptions across the world. And the days when I'm traveling or working from my Singapore office, I try to mirror similar lifestyle and discipline, most importantly, because I want to ensure that I get good opportunity to meet my team, new people, experience the local culture more closely, and understand the community, which actually helps me get inspired both personally and professionally. So yeah, so that's how a typical day ends up. It doesn't matter whether I'm working from home or I'm working locally from the market. I try to keep it pretty much disciplined and organized.
Amazing. It's great to have that discipline, right? Because I know when I'm traveling with work, it's very easy to just go on Uber Eats or Zomato or something and order whatever's the fastest thing. And usually it's the pizza or the burger and chips or something, that you've been craving and you've not been getting at home. So I do admire people that can keep that routine going, whether they're, based at home, working from home, going to the office or traveling abroad. So yeah, I think having certain routine and having that mindset is so important, right?
Exactly. So I think the good part for me is I've been on this intermittent fasting diet for, I think, more than a decade now. So I generally start my
Wow.
first meal around 12:31, which is usually the lunchtime. I skip breakfast, and I combine my breakfast and lunch around 1. So I eat generally 2 meals, but I can understand when you're traveling in other markets, meeting the team. There are the usual drinking sessions. You tend to skip your workouts in the morning. But yeah, I think somewhere down the line, you have to build that discipline because it's also part of your job life. And if you're traveling 20 days in a month, you can't survive on that lifestyle for a longer run. So you have to think more from a sustainable lifestyle. So yeah, so I think a right balance is very much required.
And do you think the working from home culture now has helped towards that building that routine and that self-discipline? Because you're
Definitely,
at home, right? There's less distractions. You're less going into work. You're less rushing from meeting A to B to C, and especially locations that are spread out, like possibly in Delhi, Gurgaon, whether it's Mumbai, you guys are traveling. Has that helped to have that self-discipline just working from home?
No, I think it is one of a key element when it comes to building discipline. But again, it depends at what stage you are in your journey. So for freshers, for people who have just started their career, I would say going to office regularly adds that discipline for them because they're still building that muscle memory, what I would say, how to work, at what pace, how to collaborate. And people who are experienced enough, who have invested like 15, 20 years of their time, I think they are now well matured to understand at what pace they need to deliver and work and how to collaborate with across markets. So I think hybrid is here to stay. Organizations who are still thinking finding a way to bring people back like 5 days a week, I think they should need to rethink because the future is all about hybrid working. And for me also, when I am traveling and I'm meeting my teams, whether it's Thailand, whether it's Vietnam or Taiwan, I also make sure that it should not matter to them that I am working locally, so they have to be in the office 5 days. It all matters about how more productive they can be. So if I am working there 5 days a week, and even if we connect 2 days and the rest of the 3 days, they continue to work from home in their hybrid lifestyle and deliver the productivity which is required for our clients, our partners, I think that works for me as well as the organization.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think hybrid is definitely here to stay. I know some organizations within our industry are requiring 2 to 3 days a week from the office. I think it depends on the role as well, right? If you're very
Yeah.
client facing role, or certain areas where you can't just have a Zoom call and you need to be in the offices, then yeah, for sure, it's probably more worthwhile to go in and then some other roles that are maybe back end engineers or product related. But yeah, it's a great point you mentioned about the experience. If you're just starting the industry, getting that muscle memory in and going in and understanding that working culture. I remember when I started again, like 12, 13 years ago, it'd just be impossible, right? To get trained, learn behind a Zoom screen rather than, going into the office.
Yeah.
In terms of APAC, we know it's obviously a vast region, right? We always, when we're looking at digital advertising or AdTech, we group together EMEA, we group together North America, LATAM, and you've obviously got APAC. And APAC as a region is so vast when it comes to population and the various different variables that you want to look at. But it'd be great to understand from a digital marketing perspective, and I understand this is a lot of your role, right? Is to understand the different markets and the nuances. What are the big differences do you see from market to market, and what are the similarities as well?
Yeah, you are right. I think APAC is one of the region, I would say, which has the different cultural expectation, and every country brings their own nuance, own culture. It's one of the, I would say, aspect of APAC that you cannot club APAC consumers into one single umbrella whenever you are building a persona graph or any of the media strategy. So there isn't any one size fit all strategy or approach that can be employed. And while the diversification is there, there are a lot of similarities. So when it comes to digital marketing perspective, I think in the interest of time, let me talk about maybe three notable similarities which comes to my mind first. One of the similarities is all about the digital video advertising. I think the digital video advertising industry is spending in terms of the growth that we are seeing across APAC region is still in double digit, and most likely what we see as a trend is like by 2025 it will exceed the traditional linear TV spend. To give you a quick example, on YouTube, you would be surprised to know that number of CTV ad calls what are available for YouTube in Vietnam are now more than the mobile device ad calls. So more than 25, 27 million people in Vietnam are watching YouTube on their CTV devices. This is like one of the aspect which we can see similar, because every market is growing. It's not just about Australia, China, or India. Even the developing stage within our region are developing and growing very fast when it comes to the video advertising spends. The second piece is all about localization. You would say this as a similarity because localization has become an important key factor for our region specifically. If brand wants to communicate effectively and efficiently with consumers, they have to build the content which is local in the flavor. And while we're talking about the content, I think in our APAC region, there is a big phenomenon of KOL, what we call key opinion leaders, or a unique type of influencer group, which has like a large follower base across the APAC native markets. So brands are definitely building more deeper relationship with this key opinion influencer group, and trying to understand how they can build more of a top funnel brand recognition or more around driving performance using social commerce aspect. So this is again one of the similarity that brands have to build local content, local flavor whenever they want to build any strategy across the APAC region. Third would be around embracing e-commerce platforms. I think commerce continue to skyrocket across our region. The connectivity and the penetration of internet across Asia Pacific region is growing, and with this recent years, the digitalization what we have seen in this region, I think there are a lot of aspects in terms of the technology as well as in terms of the opportunity what commerce is offering, both for the brands, consumers, as well as the overall ecosystem. So within our region, if we see China and Korea, they are actually shaping the e-commerce trend. And with consumers pivoting online more quickly than rest of the world, as the pandemic fast tracks, we see more households are buying massive amount of CPG products online in our region. So this is again one more common similarity what we are seeing across Asia Pacific. And social commerce is also one of the important trend. What we see, the West is now learning from East how it got developed within our region.
And what are brands looking for in each of these markets or across APAC? You mentioned a few points here, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's the localization approach. What have you seen? Yeah, that what are brands focusing on? You said in certain markets it's CTV, it could be audio. Yeah, it'd be good to understand that. And what's some success stories, right? So what have some brands really done, or global brands come into to India, for example, or into Southeast Asia and done really well? It'd be great to get a couple of examples.
I think the fundamental for every brand remains same, whether it's APAC or global or specific to any market, where it's about reaching the right people at the right time. And with that, keeping in mind, they want to actually look for driving engagements, conversion, building, I would say, a diverse media mix. So based on the campaign goal, the marketing funnel, and the media mix definitely differ across advertiser category, and within the same category also it differs between a power player or a challenger brand. So I think across the category, what we see is the brands are currently not just looking from the performance lens, which actually got into a key focus area. There are brands who are now able to understand how much branding is also important. So overall, that full funnel aspect is coming into the picture. Whether it's an international brand launching in APAC or a local D2C brand who has grown themselves doing performance marketing, is now trying to widen their funnel by doing the top funnel advertising. Uh, while the brands are trying to understand like which channel works, what audiences are right for them, where are these audiences? Are they on regular big global tech giant platforms like Google or Meta, or are they on local platforms watching OTT? Brands are definitely trying to understand what should be the right value proposition of my product when I'm advertising in these markets. So I think most of the stuff remains same. One unique aspect, what now we are seeing agencies and brands are also talking about in our region, is all about the attention matrix. Because I think overall, the past few years, we have seen viewability as a table stake being built, delivered, tracked. But if we see the current reality, how the device's behavior is changing and how we are spending more on video, which is on active screen, mainly on mobile device or on the CTV. I think that old standard viewability mechanism is not helping brands now to measure the efficiency of the media. So this is where I think brands are now focusing on using attention as a matrix, because rather than focusing on that simple viewable view or a click, they want to really analyze the interaction of the audience. So the attention matrix is also about measuring the ad screen real estate, not just about whether it was attention from a eyeball movement or the cursor movement. It's also about the completion rate, the time spent on the screen, the interaction rates, and applying attention. It actually works best for brands when they keep other sources of information handy, like the cost, impression, audience data of each platform. So this is the new suite of measurement matrix which brands are now evaluating at this stage, and I'm hoping maybe next year we will see a wider array of brands deploying it. We have actually partnered globally with Amplified Intelligence to build a bespoke measurement tool inside our Omni, which is our own marketing suite of platform applications. So while working with Dr. Karen, who is the founder of Amplified Intelligence, we are able to build different attention models for different devices, different content type, different creatives type, and using the people panel based approach, we are now able to plan our media, keeping in mind the cost element, the reach element, and able to help advertisers understand in a better way how to evaluate two or more media buying opportunities, keeping attention as the center stage. Because brand who are shifting their budget and opportunities towards the attention score, they are seeing a bigger and a larger impact in terms of the ROI.
And are brands receptive to these new ways of measuring success, right? Because attention is definitely something, as I've mentioned to you before, something that CTAG do. We're high in that space, working closely with the likes of Adelaide and Lumen. And we're saying that it should be the future, right? This is how we should be measuring success, and what we've seen from initial results and white papers has been, it's not just the upper funnel, it's not just the branding, but it's actually the mid and lower funnel. Because if you take a step back, it's a no-brainer, right? If you are paying attention, you're seeing something, you're engaging with it, you're more likely to then further down the line convert, in the most simplest of terms. So are you seeing that the brands are really receptive to when you are making these suggestions that, next year, 2023, we really need to be looking at attention and go further than just a click, for example, because, we're still seeing performance and media owners being, benchmarked on CTR? Or do you think there will still be that element of, using the tried and trusted, quote unquote, methods of measurement?
No, I think brands are definitely ready to get evolved. CTR is nowhere, I think, nowadays considered as a KPI. You talk to any brand, they have already realized clicks are never supposed to be bought, they're supposed to be earned. You have to drive organic clicks. You should never run a CPC based or a paid based CTR focused KPI campaigns. And at the same time, there is enough ad fraud in our industry, which helps easily achieve these types of KPIs. Coming back on the attention side, I think we are still in the early stage where the scores are available to plan the media, to measure the media, but it's not at a stage where we can optimize in real time based on attention. So there are stage one early adopter brands, I would say, who understand this should be an ideal way of planning, measuring, and buying as well. Some platforms, some ad formats, maybe a CPM of $1, but with the attention score of 20, might be coming at a $50 CPM versus a platform which is at like a $50 CPM but a high on attention, might be delivering better value for them. So it's stage one, I would say. Most likely, I think the next year, what we are seeing is how these some of the solutions are able to create an opportunity for agencies and brands to optimize their media spent in real time. How we started utilizing viewability based reporting on the fly, people are able to understand which placements are highly viewable, which publisher is delivering more value. I think we need to reach to that stage to make it a wholly embraced and adopted framework across the industry.
And then looking at programmatic as a whole, how have the various regions embraced programmatic, whether that's brands, agencies, publishers? Have they all adopted or embraced programmatic at the same time, or have brands been a bit slower, for example?
I think, again, when we talk about APAC, there is a lot of diversity. Some markets like ANZ and China showcase higher adoption rates, more like the global mature markets. But other markets are accelerating at a faster pace than expected to catch up. I think the simple concept, what we need to understand is from our adoption rate is all about the cost of media. So the matured markets or markets, what I talk about, ANZ and China, I think some of the aspect is about the programmatic text cost. The developed markets where the cost of media is relatively low, the programmatic tech cost tends to become a larger portion of the overall media spend versus the markets where the cost of media is relatively high. The programmatic tech taxonomy is largely like negligible. So while we are seeing across the markets, the adoption is already there. It's being considered as a key channel. But I think there are still a lot of brands and a lot of campaigns where they would like to evaluate whether running an IO buys makes sense versus programmatic. And at the same time, I think the role of DSP is also getting challenged because the whole philosophy of doing unified frequency cap with all these new privacy norms, cookie depreciation is also getting challenged. And overall, I think what we see in the programmatic space, it's all about uniting your CDP and supply side platform. So we see more control and more decision making happening on a supply side platform. And within the programmatic ecosystem, I think brands are now able to understand if they have a direct connection with their consumers, if they have a right first party data strategy, acquisition strategy, they can connect the dots and have a clear supply path if they want to walk the programmatic journey to build a deeper holistic media solution.
Okay, great. And you mentioned the cookie deprecation. What impact do you think that will have on advertisers in APAC, and are they already feeling it?
I think identity has always underpinned every aspect of campaign lifecycle, and we have been misusing cookies, starting from planning, activation, prospecting, retargeting, personalization, and most importantly, measurement. So there is no denying of the fact that this new shift or a whole set of new problems that have emerged with these challenges across the campaign lifecycle. But if we take a step back, I think the point is all about people don't want to be tracked, most likely in the way how we have been doing it or misusing their data without the consent. So I think both advertisers and publishers have now realized that they need to build more trust, add more transparency, work together to build a clean ecosystem. So whatever impact is happening, I think the clients in our portfolio have already realized, and they're focusing on what is an ideal solution. Unfortunately, there is no one magic bullet which is available right now to solve this cookie depreciation or the identity challenges. A major portion of our industry is still working to find that magic bullet. But what we have done is we have started focusing on the new ways of planning, buying, and activation, and measurement as well. And to some extent, I think again we see a group of clients who are well matured and who are adopting this. But at the same time, there are still a lot of brands who are closely watching this space for next few months and parallelly investing in building their own custom stack, which can actually solve their business problems. On the flip side, I feel I personally feel that cookie depreciation actually creates valuable new opportunities because there is the whole new concept of how to build relevance, how to deliver personalized message, how to be more effective in the communication. And advertisers, I think, have made too many mistakes trying to reach the same consumer frequently, same content, same mediums. And the modern consumer, if we see, they don't like all these recycle ads. They don't trust brands if the communication is not personalized or authentic. So overall, I think without cookie tracking, the new ways of for brands to build a direct connection with consumer, have a value exchange program with them, building more trust and transparency, what type of data is being acquired, is being used, I think would be a key to drive personalization and authentication at a long run. So to answer in a short, I would say brands are preparing for a cookieless world. And anyone who is in this space, whether you are a marketer or you are a publisher, the only guidance is to build a direct relationship with your consumers, invest in technology that prioritize privacy, establish a clear privacy policy in your organization, and gain customer trust through transparency and a clear value exchange program.
As we're heading into 2023 now, what are your predictions? You've mentioned a few elements that you think is, while the vast region of APAC, we've seen there's so many differences, so many similarities, as you've mentioned. But when it comes to this space, from an APAC perspective or even a global perspective, in your opinion, what are your predictions for the new year?
Thanks for asking. I think this is an interesting one because over the last 1 decade, I make sure I keep a track of all these digital trends and prediction which keep coming start of the year. And I see
Well, you're
a lot
seeing
of
them now,
different
right? We're
tools.
seeing the articles released now on LinkedIn. We're seeing
Exactly.
what different people. The one funny thing, though, and I don't want to be too negative, but it seems as if if somebody's talking about their predictions for 2023, it's related to the company that they're working at. So it's very from the outside looking in, it looks very, very biased of what they think is going to be the predictions for 2023. So I don't expect you to say all clients will go to OMG now for 2023.
I wish if
But
I
yeah,
had a crystal ball to predict, I would be more closer to the right predictions, or I would have bought the right stock if I had that power to predict in the right space. But I think while there are a lot of predictions which are being done in the past, some of them either failed, or some of them got outdated, or some of them are still in the journey to get deliver. So I think from a 2023 point of view, most likely what we're seeing right now is around sustainable advertising as a big trend coming in. Privacy, I think, will continue to be the hot debate topic as we see more countries, more governments create their own privacy laws. AI, I think, is one of the aspect. The recent trends, what I see on LinkedIn, is all about Chat GPT. Everyone, whether he's a digital marketer, non-marketer, a finance person, is using Chat GPT and saying, "Oh wow, how Chat GPT writes a poem." So definitely, AI is all about how they will continue to be have a massive impact in the digital advertising space. It continues to be a clear trend how AI and machine learning is adding value, automation and all. But I think overall, apart from these regular trends and predictions, what you would see, the big one what we are focusing right now, and the one which we are witnessing, is all about there are a lot of analysts globally who have started talking about the third wave of digital advertising. So they see, like, the first wave was all about search, which was leveraged by Google. The second wave was all about social, where Meta came into the picture. And now we are in the third wave of digital advertising, which is all about commerce media, or the retail media aspect. And while people are talking about this third wave, we are already seeing the retail media networks are attracting a big budget from most of the brands. One aspect is definitely because they're opening their shops or the real estate for brands to advertise in a place which has a deeper intent signal about consumer making a purchase. The second aspect is also about they have tons of deterministic data into the gameplay, the past history, past purchase behavior. And what's happening with this third wave now is that most of these commerce media solutions are giving full funnel aspect. So it's not just about the search aspect, which was the top placement that I want to buy, the keyword search, I want to buy the competition page. It's now also about how can I utilize these audience data, because it's consent, it's deterministic. So how can I leverage it to maybe a top funnel like a CTV placement? So this is where I think I see a big clear trend, and most likely I think this prediction will continue to be there till 2025 as we see commerce media, retail media continue to expand across worldwide, and you will see more retail media networks forming up.
Yes, it's a great time to be in our industry, right? There's constant change and development, and yeah, we're moving, and I think you put it in such a simple way, right? It started off with search, then became social, and now it's all about e-commerce, and that's obvious for us all to see. But the way you described it, it just simplified it massively. So we always like to finish off our podcast episode with this final question. So it'd be great to get your take on it. So if you had a superpower in AdTech, what would it be?
I think from a superpower on AdTech, I would say omnipresence, decentralized, non-hackable AI tech. If this superpower can be built, a combination of all three, what I said, omnipresence, decentralized, non-hackable, I think would really like to monitor how all organizations are using the consumer data, whatever activities are happening on internet, whether they are privacy norms being followed, building more equality in terms of the media spends and the leverage what open internet should get versus the walled garden. And most importantly, I think if the superpower can be built, really want to remove all the fake news, which is actually impacting the humanity across the worldwide.
Amazing answer. Thanks for that. So I think that's all we've got time for today in today's episode. Thanks, Bharat, for your time.
Thanks again, mate, for inviting me. Look forward for another season with you.